Thank you all for joining this morning. We're here to discuss from the great to the good, unleashing the full potential of Monday.com's enhanced features. Now, we've got myself here today, Oliver Stedman. I've been with the Provident team for around about 8 months now, working with Monday.com, working with existing customers to ensure that they have everything that they need to get all that they can out of the investment with their products. And I've got Ollie with me today. Ollie, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ollie. I'll cover off with the elephant in the room by saying there's 2 Ollie S's on the call, so slightly confusing, but I am Ollie Scampton. I'm a UK and Ireland account manager at Monday.com. Been with Monday for about 2.5 years now, mostly working with pro to end upgrades and other sort of similar size deals with clients like yourselves. So really pleased to be on the call with Provident today.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Ollie. Now, a little bit of housekeeping. So this is going to be a session dictated by Ollie and myself, and we will be aiming for around 30 minutes, just depending on how we get through. Please feel free to put any questions into the chat at any time throughout the call, and we will get to them at the end. And feel free at the end as well. We will open the floor for you guys to unmute yourselves and also turn your cameras on if you'd like to ask any questions in that way as well. And also, as I noted, this will be recorded, so we will be sending this out to all of the registrants within 24 hours of the webinar. So if there was anyone that you would have liked to have been here or anything that you would like to revisit, you can do that through the recording. Moving on to the agenda. So the first thing we're going to look at, the big one, is Pro versus Enterprise. We're then going to look at some of the automations and integrations and the enhanced features you can get with the Enterprise package. Advanced reporting and analytics, admin management, data protection, security and compliance, onboarding and support, with finally moving on to the Q&A at the end. So with that in mind, Ollie, if you wouldn't mind taking us away with the first slide of Pro versus Enterprise.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the sort of main thing that we're here to talk about today is the differences between our Pro plan and our Enterprise plan. And there's a few different sort of pillars to this that I like to sort of run over to sort of make it as clear as possible for people who are looking to understand what benefits they can get from moving up. Obviously, there's a price increase, so you want to know what benefits you're getting with the move from Pro plan up to the Enterprise plan. So starting off, I think what I'd mention is that it's really a difference between a DIY versus a SaaS solution. So Pro plan, very much out the box. You take the product and you build it in-house. You configure it to your own team's needs. Enterprise, very much on the flip side, is software as a service. So you have the support both from Monday.com and from platinum partners such as Provident to actually make sure that you're building a bespoke solution that fits your team's requirements, but also builds itself around the existing workflows that your team are working to. Secondly, on the lower row there, you can see some of the scalable differences within the features of Pro versus Enterprise. So there are some limitations that you get with the Pro plan that are then lifted when you get to Enterprise. So some of these, which we'll run over in a bit more detail, include automations and integrations. And if you're new to Monday, I'll give you a full lowdown in terms of what that actually is. File storage, reporting and analytics are just some of the other scalability features of Enterprise, which are lifted when you get to that stage of plan. So we'll run over all of those in a bit more detail as we go through the webinar.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for covering that, Ollie. And I think one thing to note, as we move into the webinar, is a lot of people hear the name Enterprise and automatically think, you have to be a huge organization to encompass something like that. When we talk about Pro versus Enterprise, it's not always to do with the scale and size of your business. It can be to do with the use case in general. So we can see that Monday is used for so many different things across, the world of technology and business as a whole. Sometimes these use cases, even if they are for sort of 10 to 15 people, are at an enterprise level of scale. So I think one thing to bear in mind throughout this webinar and moving forward is that the enterprise is not always for the big behemoth companies that we know all around. Don't get me wrong, it caters to them too, but it also is for the grade and level of your use case as well. Moving into the next slide, we're looking at automation actions.
Yeah, so obviously we've spoken a few times already in the last 5 minutes around automations and integrations. It's something that we generally pair with each other because they are quite similar in what they do or how they actually accomplish what they do. However, there are differences. So I'll talk specifically about automations to begin with. For anyone who doesn't know what a Monday.com automation is, it's effectively a recipe. So you're basically giving an instruction to the platform to when something happens automatically. Sorry, just mute someone there. Apologies. When something happens within the platform, you're giving the platform an instruction to automate the next few steps of a workflow. So it's really about removing the manual work that your team are doing, speeding up those processes, and allowing them to actually get on with the job at hand, rather than the nitty gritty, the small tasks that can be automated through the platform. So you can see an example on the left. When a design is done, notify someone. That is one of many automations that you can build within Monday. You can say when an item's created, notify someone. When a status changes, create an item, create a board, create a template. So the possibilities are endless, but effectively that is what an automation within Monday.com is. As you can imagine, when you've got these automations pinging off left, right, and center with a team, as the team grows, you can actually hit some limits. So the limit on a monthly level with Pro is 25,000 actions. So every time one automation is triggered, that counts as an action. And if you've got multiple things coming off the back of that, that could be multiple actions. So while 25,000 could sound like quite a big number, actually, as you scale your use of Monday and your team are using it more and more on a daily basis, actually that number could be hit quite quickly. That number is tenfold, so it goes from 25,000 per month on the account level to 250,000 automation actions with enterprise. So it's really about scaling, allowing you to actually get all of those small, maybe those actions that you wouldn't necessarily think of on a daily basis as being repetitive, being in high numbers, actually getting those done on a scalable level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there as well. You know, the difference of moving from the pro to enterprise level of automations, while 25,000 does sound like a lot, you know, after you've used Monday for a year, you can easily see how quickly, you know, with multiple boards, multiple dashboards, notifications, emails, all of this sort of stuff, how they can get digested very, very quickly. And I think, you know, it's something that prevents limitation. You know, you don't want to be in a position where you're having to sacrifice saving people's time, just for the simple fact of, you know, not having that scalable approach that the enterprise plan does offer, to be able to automate, as I said, 10 times more than what you're able to do natively on the platform. And I think it also ties into support with adoption, which we will get into later, helping people get used to a platform, use it more. I think that if you can just take more off their plate by something that would normally take 5 or 10 minutes, being one simple click through an automation, I think that just makes, you know, adoption of a tool a lot easier as well. And I think that segues us quite nicely into the integration piece as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one final point on the well, it comes into integrations as well. But if you've got 25,000 as a limit, obviously that's less than 1,000 a day, which when you've got even just 10 members using Monday on a daily basis, that can get eaten up really quickly. Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to integration. So as I said previously, these work in a very similar way to automations. The difference being that automations are internal within Monday as a platform. So automation would be when something happens in Monday, trigger this thing to happen in Monday. Integrations are where you're talking with outside applications. So we have around 50 integratable out the box solutions, things you can see on the screen there with little logos like Zoom, like Teams, like HubSpot, like Gmail, like G Calendar, for example. We also have an open API. So any software that your team are using already can be brought into Monday. So you can have automations and recipes built out so that when something happens in Monday, trigger something to happen in a different platform. Similarly, when something happens in a different platform, trigger something to happen in Monday. Again, these are limited on a quantity level with Pro at 25,000 per month. which, as I said previously, can get eaten up really quickly. And as your team grows, there's likely that while you're always looking to consolidate tools, there will be more and more tools that with data that is being updated on a daily basis. And as soon as you don't have tools talking to each other, that doubles, triples workload. So integrations are really, really key to actually building out a more scaled solution for your team to work with on a daily basis. There's a couple of other just to note. Almost all of our integratable solutions are available on both Pro and Enterprise, with the quantity limitations set in with Pro. However, there are a couple of enterprise only integrations, so Salesforce and NetSuite. The reason for that is that they have to be built out bespoke. Every Salesforce instance, every NetSuite instance is actually unique to itself, so we couldn't build an out-of-the-box integration for obvious reasons. Therefore, you'll lean on what would be what we'll talk about later in terms of the services that come with Enterprise to actually build those out, if Salesforce and NetSuite are some of the tools that you're looking to integrate into Monday.
Absolutely. I think anyone that is on the call that is or has been a user of Salesforce or NetSuite can definitely preach to the fact that no Salesforce instance is the same. So you can totally appreciate that. I think just, a bit more on the integrations piece and why I think not being limited by what you can integrate with is very powerful. I think it ties into having one central source of truth. I think that, Ollie, I'm sure you can relate to this. A lot of people come to us and they would like a centralized tool with, something like Monday, not necessarily for a whole business. I say this happens quite a lot. There is that case, but even for just a department where you do use so many different tools for so many different things. I mean, if you look at some of the tools on screen, MailChimp, HubSpot, they're all very, very good at all sorts of different things and have their unique strengths. Having something like Monday where you can bring everything into one place, I think is very, very powerful, especially with how busy things are and especially with a remote kind of instance in the world at the moment. I mean, I don't really know anyone anymore that goes to the office every single day. It's really important to have something where you can have that one single source of truth, where you can see everything that's going on, all the concurrent information is live. And I think that's, something that the enterprise plan can offer with those enhanced integration actions. And as we mentioned as well, we do have the open API, so we can integrate with near enough any other platform as well, whether that be an internal platform or just something that's not on the list that you can see on screen at the moment. It's definitely something that we can support you guys with. So moving on to the next slide, we're going to be looking at one of the big ones. I know something that was heavily requested that we go into, the reporting and analytics.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Ollie just said, this is something that I come up against in terms of requests to speak about, requests for more information around the differences between reporting capabilities on Pro and Enterprise. And actually, I'll just dig into a little bit about what the reporting capabilities of Monday in general are. So you can see on your screen a dynamic GIF with a dashboard being created. So you've got all these boards, you've got all these sets of data that are being constantly updated in real time by your team on hopefully an hourly, a daily basis. And it's about graphically representing that data so that you can quickly report on it, so you can quickly check up on updates without having to trawl through loads and loads of tables, loads and loads of bits of raw data. You can actually build out these graphically designed dashboards really easily with a few clicks of a button within the Monday platform. This is something that's used a lot, both on the Pro and on the Enterprise plan. All of these widgets, for example, that you see are available on both. The big difference is how you're actually pulling that data into any one dashboard at any time. With Pro, you've got a limit of 10 boards per dashboard. So say if you've got a team of 10 and you want to report on how they're getting on with their daily tasks, how they're, if it's a sales team, how their pipeline is progressing, if it's a marketing team, what their click-through rates are. Just a few examples of the use cases here. If you've got 10 people in your team, you can pull from each of their individual boards and see a holistic view of that team in real time. All of the widgets are updated in real time. So there's no refreshing, there's no rebuilding these dashboards. They're there, they're ready to be looked at, ready to be analyzed whenever you need to see that data. With Enterprise, however, you can pull 5 times more. So that limit of boards per dashboard goes from 10 to 50. What that allows you to do on a high level management scale is actually see what the whole sort of wider team are doing. Similarly, if you've got multitude of clients that is between that 10 and 50 level, you can actually build dashboards out to see how those clients are performing, how the work that you're doing for them is performing on a real-time basis, pulling data on a really large scale for up to 50 boards into one individual dashboard. Noted, you can also have as many dashboards as you like per account. So if you've got 200, 300 projects going on at any one time, segment those down, and actually within a couple or 2 or 3 dashboards, you can actually see data on a really, really scalable level.
Absolutely. You cover that really well. I think, one of the other things to note as well with just Monday reporting in general is the fact that it's all running in real time. I've used a lot of other similar tools in the past that, you have to run these reports in each instance. I think it's really important to have a tool that really keeps you up to date, but equally you can go back and have a retrospective of this period of time or the last 30 days or something like that, which just gets made so much easier with enterprise. It's not a case that you would have to have multiple dashboards that you would have to look at, go back over, export and pull it all together. 5 times more dashboards really does make that easier, and I know that there are plans to increase that number throughout the year, so that's definitely something to keep your eyes out for as well.
Just quickly on that, I think one thing to note is with that reporting function, you can actually then pull those widgets into what we call a Monday doc. So I have loads of clients saying, well, I need to make a report every week, every month, every quarter to give to the senior management, to give to the board. That's taking up hours and hours of time of trawling through data, pulling that data on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. What you can actually do is build a report with dynamic widgets in there so that you've got all of these dashboards that are pulling from up to 50 boards in real time, made out into a report that you can literally pull with a click of a button in real time at the end of each quarter, and that is your up-to-date information for the board.
Absolutely. A lot easier to share that way as well, because I do know that some people still like to even print these off and stuff like that, keep records of it. So being able to export it to a document as opposed to only having it in one metric of monday.com is a very powerful feature as well. Speaking of powerful features, we're now going to look into the admin control on the enterprise plan.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've spoken a lot about scalability. A lot of the features that we've talked about so far are around as your team use the product more, as the team get more and more ingrained within their daily work. I think this really sort of speaks to that as well. So admin management. So how do I start with this? Effectively, as you get more and more data within Monday, more and more of that data could be sensitive. More and more of that data could be precious to the everyday running of the business. Or more of that data could be GDPR sensitive, for example, as you get HR information in. If you're running your HR out of there, you don't necessarily want everyone to be able to do what they like, see what they like within HR information, within salaries, within employee details, for example. Similarly, on a CRM side, if you've got client data in there, that data can be really sensitive. The difference between Pro and Enterprise is how you control who within the account is doing what, seeing what, editing what, exporting what. So you have really, really granular and really, really advanced account permissions with Enterprise. So you as an admin can actually control down to the user level who's seeing which individual line item, who's seeing which board, who's seeing which workspace, and within that then who actually can edit those, who actually can export data. There's limited controls with privacy and with data protection within the Pro. Not to say Pro isn't GDPR compliant. All of our platform is obviously compliant to regulations. However, it's about what you're actually doing as the data handler in holding that sensitive data. You've got multi-level permissions, as it says there. You can actually choose whether someone is a director, manager, entry level, and have permissions based on that level. Secure workspaces I touched on, so you can have a department, say for HR, or a department for sales with CRM data in there that is completely shut off to the rest of the business, and no one will even be able to see that workspace exists, let alone be able to see the data within inside it. And finally, content directory. So any document, any piece of information that's entered, edited, exported, you have a directory that goes back 5 years, so that if anything did happen, any piece of information was compromised or changed, you as an admin can have full autonomy over who has done that, and actually be able to see on a really granular level who, when, why, how that data was accessed. So it gives you real sort of peace of mind in terms of the data privacy side.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just picking a few of my favorite features on here, we went into it at quite a good level, the advanced account level permissions. I think one of the ways that this can really come in strong for any user of Monday is one of its other great features, the free guest users. Being able to collaborate with clients in a very seamless way, cutting out emails as opposed to saying, here's a report on your project, here's an update, here's what this is looking like. We can, of course, bring people into the platform externally. But I think it's very important to note that these permissions are applicable to guests, viewers, and members alike. So we can manage that at the same level for guests. So, for example, if it is project information and there's internal notes or figures or anything like that, that of course, you wouldn't want to share that necessarily with a client. We can manage that with the advanced account level permissions. I think that's one of the ways that I see it very well utilized. I think another piece as well that's very important is the role-based permissions. It's just a really seamless way to keep certain reports, certain analytics, and just boards in general and activities, for example, from a director level, or even if we look, from a seniority level within a team. So if there's senior engineers working on something versus junior engineers, it's very important that there's certain ways that people can interact with that data based on your role, which I think is something that's very important as we move forward with the remote working culture that we currently all immerse in.
And and one other thing to say on role-based permissions, it leavers and joiners. So it removes the necessity to control every individual's permissions within the platform. If you have a leaver, if you have a joiner who comes in within a certain team, you set their role, and by doing that, you give them exactly the right permissions within the platform to allow you to control what they're seeing and doing within the platform as well. So it takes some manual work out of the administration as well.
Absolutely. And it also encourages standardization, which I think is very important. Within a certain level of seniority, everyone has the same level of permissions. So we know exactly what that type of role can achieve. Of course, if there are people that have their own unique sort of sets as well, we can change them on an individual basis. But I think, as you said, Ollie, with new people coming in and vice versa, people leaving, it's really important to know what level they can have as soon as they get started. And speaking of management of users and the account, we're now going to be moving on to the enterprise grade security.
Nice segue.
Perfect. So looking into this, I think the key things here to look at are first and foremost the authentication piece. So we see this more and more often coming in nowadays, especially I keep alluding back to it with the more remote working culture, SSO. So we can look at any form of two-factor authentication that you utilize, or Google authentication. Very easy and seamless ways, which I'm sure a lot of your tech stack would currently use. If we look at the authorization piece, there's IP restrictions, session management, and skin provisioning. Very much something that I think moving forward is going to become more and more apparent for tools like this to be utilizing. If we look at the audit log as well, Ollie, you alluded to it a little bit earlier on. We do have the 5-year time span, being able to go back and dig into information. This is 5 times more than the Pro plan. And SEIM add-on for Splunk as well. If we do have any Splunk users on the call, I think that's a very important piece to look at. Of course, with the compliance as well, every standard Monday platform is GDPR compliant, ISO compliant, but we also do get to level up looking at SOC 2 level compliance, HIPAA compliance as well for anyone based over in the US, and OWASP top 10 compliance as well. I think, just sort of finishing up on my side for the security piece, one of the biggest things that I get asked about is data residency. So as a standard on a Pro plan, all data is based out of the US. However, if you were to move to the enterprise plan, you can remain on the US servers. However, you do have the option to be based out of one of our EU data centers in Frankfurt, Germany, which also have disaster recovery and failover protocols as well as looking at our 99% uptime SLA as an enterprise customer. I think, Ollie, you probably have this conversation every day, the same as I do. Some really strong features here that I think every Monday user should definitely have a look over and see if that aligns with their IT protocols.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, obviously some of these are going to be more important to you as an individual, or less important. I speak to IT directors, I speak to compliance directors who this is their bread and butter. This is exactly what they look for in any software. They'll say that SSO is a non-negotiable. They'll say that having a service level agreement of 99.9% uptime. Again, if you have business critical information within the platform, an SLA is a non-negotiable. Now, we have incredibly high uptimes anyway. We very rarely have any issues with our servers. However, if there were any issues with it, having a service level agreement will protect the client against any time lost, and there's a financial guarantee with that as well if we do break that service level agreement with technical difficulties. Again, EU data, all of our data centers in the EU and the US are GDPR compliant. However, if you're in a regulated industry, if you're working for certain sort of accredited industries, for example, then EU housed data is again a non-negotiable. So while these aren't the sort of sexiest features of enterprise, I would certainly say that from an IT and compliance level, there's sometimes just ones that they're non-negotiables, and they're therefore often reasons why companies go to enterprise and actually get all the cooler features with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes it's just the bread and butter of the platform. Some people aren't aware that these are enterprise level security. So I think it's something as I said, we have this conversation every day. Definitely not the sexiest feature, as you mentioned, but sometimes just essential for organizations. So moving on, we're now going to look at the onboarding, implementation, and support side of things. So this is something that, is very close to myself and Ollie, working closely with the CS teams at Monday. I think that with enterprise, it's very essential to look at not only all of the features that you get as a whole, but that onboarding and implementation piece as well. Because it is all well and good having all of these features that are ready at the palm of your fingertips, but getting started in the right way is always key. I read an interesting piece the other day. It was an analytical piece that came out that said 61% of software projects fail without a correct and tailored onboarding and implementation. I think, especially with tools like Monday as well, where they are, so there's so many ways to do so many different things. That's why the platform is great. That's why we love it. Having someone to support you in dictating the best ways to go, showing you all of those options, I think is very, very important. So when we look at that implementation, if you were to take that move to enterprise, you get dedicated implementation services from our expert consultants and a success plan as well. So it's not just at the forefront, once you move, it is that whole tailored, setting it all up in an exact way, making sure you're aware of every single feature that is available to you. But there is also that success plan as well with the customer success teams, not only at Monday, but also at Provident, that keep you moving forward, as the platform changes and evolves. We've got a few people on here that have been customers for a very long time. You'll know that there are features coming in every day, every week, by the minute. So it is very important to have someone, an expert at hand, that can guide you through that. The 24/7 support. So with enterprise, you do get access to our premium level of support with Monday. I think, Ollie, you might be a little bit more best placed to speak on that than myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got thousands and thousands of customers across the different tiers. And with enterprise, we wanted to make sure that the support is the absolute best that you're getting for the money that you're paying. So we have a dedicated support team which work round the clock. They service all of our enterprise clients across every time zone, and they're available with one message, with one click of a button within the platform to give you bespoke advice based on your instance of Monday. Just quickly on the implementation as well, we've talked a lot about certain different features here, some of which are fairly easy to grasp, some of them are a bit more complex. So a lot of the enterprise features, as you stack them up, moving from pro to enterprise, can get quite complex, and actually making sure that you're getting return on investment, that you're quick to realize that return on investment, and actually quick to get your team up and running with these additional features, with the scalability options with enterprise and with the security options as well. Getting all that set up as you move from pro to enterprise is the reason that we have these services available. Ongoing ROI realization is something that Provident are experts in, and have worked with a lot of clients alongside myself to make sure that they are seeing the return on investment. So that customer success piece as well, after the initial project to implement you, ongoing customer success has been really invaluable to all the clients I've worked with Provident on. So can't speak highly enough about that service that they offer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much for going over that for us, Ollie. So just moving on, we're now at the section of the webinar for the Q&A.
I got one question over email from a lady who couldn't join, which I can kick off with while you're getting the chat up, which was just around the process of actually moving from pro to enterprise. How long does it take? What's the general sort of implementation time? And in a word, it depends, but really it is fairly quick. As software implementations go, generally we can get you up and running with your team fully equipped for success within sort of a month. It depends how much free time they've got to actually sort of begin to apply what they're learning, actually get them up and running with the additional features. But generally, whether you're a pro customer moving to enterprise, or if you're a brand new greenfield customer that's actually starting your Monday.com journey on enterprise, we can actually get implementation projects kicked off within a few days of signing an agreement, and from there they're generally really quite quick in terms of getting you up and running on the enterprise, and having your team working on a day-to-day basis on that really quickly.
Absolutely, absolutely. And looking at another one of the prerequisite questions I had just while we get the Q&A section sorted, I had a question in regards to the transfer of data. Now, obviously, of course, your initial accounts are based on the US servers. It is a fairly seamless transition from the US to the EU servers. However, it does just require a call to go over that data. Monday has a great feature called the cross account copier, which allows you to really move over around 90% of your prerequisite data from your existing account over to an EU account. However, there are a few little intricacies which, as a partner or Monday directly, we can support you with. Looking at the Q&A now, we've got a question from Amy. Amy has asked, how do you know how many automations/integrations you're currently using? What happens if we meet the 25K limit? Does Monday notify an admin, or does the automation/integration stop working? Ollie, are you happy to go over that one?
Yeah, certainly. So to cover off I can't remember what the first part of the question was, but in terms of the hitting the automation limits, both of those will happen. So there will be a notification when you're nearing the limit, and then actually when you get to the limit, the automations do switch off. So it's worth sort of being aware as an admin that when you are being notified of nearing your automation limit, that could happen in a short amount of time. So it's just something to be aware of. You can check that within the administration section as well, as to how many automations you're using, or if you're having trouble doing that, support@monday.com can actually provide that data for you. So you can email them and they can give you the real-time data of how you're doing in terms of using your automations and integrations.
Absolutely. And, as part of just for attending the call as well, we will be offering free consultations where we can have that conversation with yourselves post this call, where we can go into these details and have a look and see if, moving to enterprise based on your current usage may be a solution moving forward. If anyone does have any questions that they don't want to ask right now, we will be sending around a follow-up after this as well. And as we said, we will be offering everyone a free account consultation where we can look into your current usage, look at your current boards, and maybe show you some of those enterprise features that we've discussed today to see if that would make, further enhancements to your current workflows. And, oh, I can see that Trudy has raised their hand. Trudy,
yes,
please go ahead.
thank you, Ollie. I was just wondering because I can foresee that I'm going to want to follow up with you. You know, I mean, so I've got a team of project managers. You know, everybody has a separate assigned projects. You know, all of which are linked up to an overarching projects board. But from my perspective, from me managing, you know, those opportunities for my team, I'm gonna need maybe some guidance from you. So how do I go about taking you up on that offer for that individualized session?
Absolutely. We'll be following up with every participant and everyone that signed up for the webinar after this call. So what we can do, Trudy, is I'll send you an email. Myself and Ollie be more than happy to jump on a call with you and have a look at anything that you're facing and definitely support you in finding a solution.
Amazing. Thank you ever so much. It was a great session. Very clear. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Trudy. Thank you very much. We look forward to connecting with you after this call. And to everyone else that attended today, thank you so much. Ollie, thank you for joining as well.
For having me.
Excuse me, from the Monday.com side. As we said, we will follow up by email, but if anyone has any direct questions, feel free to reach out to us directly. But other than that, everyone, thank you so much for your time today. I really hope that you found today's webinar useful, and the recording will be coming around in 24 hours time if you do wish to share that with anyone else. Have a lovely rest of your day, everyone. Thank you for attending.
Thanks very much.
You both as well. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Trudy. Thank you. Bye.